Let me start by asking you a question this morning, and I hope you'll be honest because there won't be much judgment. There won't be any judgment how you answer this question. How many of you like stuff? Things. Come on, put it up, put your hand. I don't care what your thing is, right? A lot of you have different things, right? Some of you like tools, some of you like fishing stuff, some of you like hunting stuff, some of you you get to fill in the blank, the whatever sparkly stuff. That's true. I got a girl that likes sparkles, right? We do that. So we know that there's stuff that we like, and we live in a world that has a lot of stuff. You know, there are a few years something happened in our world that radically changed my life, and it's not my marriage, although that changed my life, right? 22 years ago, this Saturday, baby, we're 22 years, and we still like each other, which is a miracle. I'm hard to get along with, but you know, not that. It's not my kids, although they dramatically changed my life. It wasn't coming here to be pastor of this church, although they dramatically changed my life. Let me show you what changed my life. Are you ready? That changed my life forever, okay? I love me some Amazon Prime. I think that it's the greatest invention ever. I can be on my computer. I can look up something. Hey, I might want that. And it just has that button right there that says, what? Buy with one click. Boom, one click. It's done. And 2 days later, maybe even a day later, it shows up at my house. Everything is good. They even take a picture of it to let me know it's there. They tell me how many stops away it is so I can rush home to get it and beat the driver, whoever's delivering it, because it's my stuff, right? And then on top of that, Amazon has created this little thing called an Echo Dot that I can lay in bed and I can say, Alexa, sweetie, and that's the way I always address her because it drives my wife nuts. I can say, Alexa, honey, or Alexa, sweetie, would you send me some toilet paper? And she will go, do you want the same kind you got last time? And I'll say, sure, give it to me just like the same thing you gave me last time. And 2 days later, you know what shows up at my doorstep? A big old box of 84 rolls of toilet paper, whatever I order that particular time. And then on top of that, it makes the most amazing recommendations, doesn't it? Like you're just minding your own business. You get an email that says, hey, we think you might like this. And you go, I like that. I think I need that. I didn't know how much I liked it. I swear to you, this happened like 2 days ago. Emily opens an email and they says, we think you would like this pair of shoes. And her eyes get big and she lights up and she goes, I would like those kind of shoes. And they even have her size already pre-selected because it knows everything about us. And what do? One click and it shows up. And then we even have stuff set up on reoccurring things. Y'all ever do that, right? Where you forget you need it until it shows up once a month at your house because you set it up to come once a month at your house. And I was thinking about all of the ways Amazon and everyone else makes it easy for us to spend money. Does anyone struggle spending money? Is it hard for you to spend money? You may wish if I had more, I'd spend more. That's the way most of us think, isn't it? And we live in this world, don't we, that really does make it easy and convenient and almost feel good spending money, buying stuff, getting things that we maybe do or do not need, but they sure do make us feel good in that moment. I don't know if you realize it or not, but the Bible, and I'll even say just the New Testament, the second half, the part from Jesus on forward, do you realize that it talks about money and possessions over 200 times? 200 individual times the New Testament says something about money or possessions or the things that we have or the things that we want or the things that we buy. And that's a big number, right? That's a big number, even though it's a big book with all the things that the Bible talks about. Over 200 times it talks about money and possessions, and it might cause you to ask, it might cause you to think for a moment, why in the world does God care about my money? It's not like He needs it. It's not like the creator of the universe who spoke and out of nothing came everything is going, hey, Stephen, if you could just let me borrow $10, everything would work out okay. It's not as though God's going, hey, Stephen, I need all of your money because if you don't give me money, then I'm not sure how I'm going to get my plan done. It's not that God needs it. And of all the things that God needs to worry about, Like of all the issues, all the stuff going on in the world, all the problems that we have, all of the difficulties, the sickness, the disease, the brokenness, disasters, all of that stuff, like why in the world does God talk about money so often? And I don't think I really understood this. I've thought about it, talked on it, and talked about it for years, but I don't think I really understood the reason and why this is so important until I had children myself. Because when my kids were young and they were learning to talk, they were, they did the words, the early words that everybody says, dad, mom, all those kind of words. But there was a word that they learned early on, and they used it often. Anyone know what that word is? Mine. Some of y'all know, you've been there. And they used mine all the time. That's mine. Don't touch it. That's mine. Don't get near it. That's mine. Don't look at it. Right? Don't even think about it. How many of you have been in a car with your kids and they like draw the imaginary line and they say, everything on this side is what? It's mine. And the other kid would get their finger and go like that, like just try to get right up on the line. And you're sitting there thinking, I'm going to pull this car over and I'm going to rip your little line of your mind because it's all mine. And if you don't quit giving this up, it's going to end bad for everyone. Okay, road rage over now, all right? Because we know that, right? You know that it's easy to be selfish, isn't it? Anyone have to teach your kids to be selfish? Did anyone have to teach you to be selfish? We see it in our children. We gripe about it and we try to correct them. We try to teach them to be generous and kind and giving and all those kind of things. But the truth is, it's really easy for us to be selfish, isn't it? This is the way we should do things. You know why? Because it's my way. That's the right way. It's just my way. I mean, we say like, well, I'm doing it the right way. No, you're saying, I want to do it my way. This is the way we're going to do it because it's my way. We look around and we look at our stuff and we go, you can't take that. That's mine. And we hold really tight to our things and to our, and especially if you're like, got maybe a little OCD issue like I do, we're like, hey, that's not the way that goes. You don't put that there. Put it right back where it belongs because that's mine and you got to take care of my stuff. And we look at other people and we look at other things and we go, hey, it's all about me and it's all about my stuff and those are mine and don't touch or think or look at or correct or say or do anything. Why? Because it's all mine. And let me tell you what God knows about selfishness is that nothing damages relationships like selfishness does. That's the relationships with each other. That's relationships with husbands and wives. I can't tell you how many times I've sat down with couples who are struggling and fighting and all that kind of stuff going on. And you know what it comes down to? They're just both being pretty selfish and no one's going to give up any ground because that's mine. I've got my rights and I can do it my way. And it's parents and children. It's people at your work. It's your friends. And it's even our relationship with God. And the reason I think God cares so much and talks so much about money and possessions and things and stuff, it's not because He needs it. It's not because He's a controlling God. It's not because He wants us to be miserable. It's that He knows that money and possessions are often pulling at our heart, are often controlling us, are often consuming us to the point that it hurts our relationship with others and, more importantly, our relationship with Him. There are very few things that have the power over us like stuff. Last week we looked at a couple of cycles that we tend to live in. One really, when it comes to money and possessions, there's sort of two ways that we look at it. One is that we earn money, right? We make money, we work hard, and man, so many of you work so hard for your money and so hard for your stuff, and you get up early and you stay late, and you don't stop, you don't rest, you work hard and you earn, and then when you earn, what do? You take the things that you earn and you consume, you buy stuff, you pay your bills. Some of it you want to, some of it you don't, some of it you have to because the government just takes it from you whether you want it or not, and you just end up consuming, and what happens after that? You lack. And because you know if you earn and then consume, you're going to eventually lack, and so what do? You have to get up and go to work tomorrow and you have to earn so you can consume, and then you lack, and then you go around this cycle time and time again, and really it's built often on fear, the fear that we're not going to have enough. Of what if I run out? What if I lose my job? What if I'm not able to earn enough to consume what I want? And what if I just spend my life lacking? And that's where many of us live, right? It's not because we're bad, messed up people. It's just sort of the world that we live in, and earning and consuming and lacking. But God offers us something different, right? Where God says, listen, everything you have is a gift from me. So if you will take what I give you, and if you will give it back to God, be generous with our lives, then God says, I will grow what I give you. And you will see, instead of fear, you will live in faith, because God's going to give and you're going to give, and God's going to grow so you can give and so you can have more and continue on in this cycle of faith, of believing and seeing God do more with your stuff than you could ever imagine doing on your own. And so this morning, I want to ask you to ask yourself a question. It's a question that maybe some of you have asked yourself. My guess is that many of us have never even really considered this question, or never really even considered, how we're going to answer this, or even why it's important. And the question is simply this: is how do I see my money? How do I see my possessions? How do I see my stuff? Whether it's our home or our business or our bank account or whatever it is, those resources that I have, how do I see them? I want to read to you a story that some of you may be familiar with. If you're not, it's okay. But it's a story where, and here's how it goes. It says this: when he, and he is Jesus in this case, it says, when Jesus went ashore, he saw a great crowd, and he had compassion on them, because they were like sheep without a shepherd, and he began to teach them many things. And when it grew late, his disciples came to him and said, this is a desolate place, and the hour is now late. Send them away to go into the surrounding countryside and villages and buy themselves something to eat. You see, let me set the story up, right? Jesus is teaching, and there is a large crowd of people. This is one of the few stories that's talked about in all four of the Gospels. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John all record this story, and all record a few different details on it. We know from the other stories, the other times this story is told, that there were at least 5,000 men. And which meant probably 20 to 25,000 people were standing as Jesus stood on this hillside, just teaching, just talking about the things of God, talking about all that God wants for them, talking about the life they can have in God. And he's teaching, and down below are thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And the day goes on, and as you can imagine, as the day goes on, what happens? People are getting hungry. And what happens when you're hungry? You stop paying it. I see it, some of y'all, right? Like, if I get towards the end of the hour, it's like, dude, I'm getting hungry. I need some food, right? And I get, where are we going? You're looking around hoping there's a donut around or something, right? Because you get hungry and you get distracted and you start thinking about food and all kinds of other things, and your stomach starts growling. You look at somebody, is that your stomach? No, that's yours. And you're like, wow, that's really disturbing. You need to get something to eat. And the disciples come up to Jesus and go, Jesus, everybody's hungry. Everybody needs food. And if you look around, Jesus, there's no like Christian chicken around here anywhere, right? This is before Chick-fil-A, before fast food, before restaurants. It's a desolate place. And they're going, here's what we need to do. We need to send them away. Let them go find their own food. Maybe if they'd been better prepared, they'd have brought some of their own food, but they didn't, so send them away, Jesus. Send them away. Let them go to all the different towns, all the different villages. It's going to take forever, so let them go get their own food, and then maybe tomorrow they can come back and we can start this thing over again and keep doing the things that you're doing. But right now, Jesus, you have to send them away, because we don't have enough food to eat for them to all eat, and they're getting hungry and they're getting grumpy, and we don't know what to do. So Jesus, just send them away. And I love what Jesus says, because I'm sure they thought that Jesus was going to say, hey, that's a really good idea. You're so responsible because we don't have enough money to feed them, so let's send them away. But look at what Jesus says. He says, but Jesus answered them, I love it, you give them something to eat. Jesus, what? You give them something to eat. And they said to him, shall we go and buy 200 denarii worth of bread and give it to them to eat? And he said to them, how many loaves do you have? Go and see. And when they had found out, they said, 5 loaves and 2 fish. I love the answer Jesus gives them because it just is silly. It doesn't make any sense. You've got 20,000 people out in front of you. You've got 12 guys, and Jesus says, you give them something to eat. Like, what's the big deal? Why would we send them away? Why would we do that? Why don't you give them something to eat? And their response is, Jesus, it would take 200 denarii. And denarii is what you would pay a worker for working an entire day. It was the average day's wages for a worker in that culture. And they're saying, Jesus, I would have to work 200 days just to give everyone a little piece of bread. I would have to work 200 days just to give everyone a cracker, just a little bite to eat. And Jesus says, hey, well then tell you what, just go out in the crowd, just ask around and see what you can find. Just see what you can show up. And I don't know what they were expecting. They were probably thinking, this is really a dumb idea, Jesus. And they really did think that because Jesus had some ideas that seemed ridiculous at the time. This doesn't make any sense, Jesus, but we're going to do it because you're God and that whole God thing, but we're going to trust you. But this is pretty dumb. And they come back, and you know what they come back with? They come back with one of these. Not really these. You can tell I have daughters, right? Because this is not my lunch pail. But here's what they come back with. A Lunchable. I'm not lying to you either. Okay, we'll maybe say he had 2 Lunchables. This is barely food, all right? It may not even be food. I don't know what's in it, but it's not good for you. And they come back with a Lunchable. And they say, Jesus, here's what we got. Here's what we got. A Lunchable. Couple pieces of bread, couple of fish, some nasty crackers, and some ham-like substance that I don't know what all they got in it, but that's what they brought back to Jesus. What do you think they were thinking? All right, do something with this. This won't even take care of the front row, Jesus. I mean, if we pass this, my kids are hoping they get this for school tomorrow, but I don't know if I'm going to let them have it. But listen, this isn't enough to make a bit. It's ridiculous, isn't it? It doesn't make any sense, does it? What in the world are we going to do with this? And in this moment, what we're going to see in this story is that we're going to discover that there really are 2 ways we can look at the things that we have, the resources, the money, the whatever it is, that there are 2 ways that we can look at it. Way number 1 is that there is not enough. This is not enough to make a difference. If I said to you today, guys, this is what we've got to eat, some of y'all are going to go, Stephen, I'm leaving now because that ain't enough to make a bit of difference. In fact, when John tells the story, he says this. It says, one of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said to him, there is a boy here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 fish, but what are they for so many? There's a boy here with a Lunchable. But what is that going to do for so many? There's just not enough. How many of you have ever felt that way? I got a lot more month left than I have money. I've got bills to pay, but I'm not sure how I'm going to pay them. How many of you have felt like you're finally getting ahead and then the car breaks? Or the refrigerator, or the roof, or the kids need braces, or your son backs his truck up into someone else. Just hypothetically, right? How many of you have felt that way? That didn't really happen. I shouldn't say that. He rear-ended someone, that different thing. No, just kidding. Like, have you ever felt that way? God, I don't have enough to pay my bills. God, I don't have enough to cover these expenses. And now you want me to give and to be generous and to help and to do all this other stuff with my money. God, there's just not enough. I mean, I can take my little Lunchable and throw it at the crowd, but it's not going to make a difference. There's just not enough for so many needs, for so much brokenness, for whatever it is that we feel like we need to give to. And we look around and we say, there's just not enough. But there's another way, and we see it in this story. It's a radically different way that we can look at it. Rather than saying there's not enough, we can realize there's more than enough. Because you know what Jesus does with his little boy's Lunchable? He takes it. And I wish I could pull this one off. I thought about it. Can I fake this somehow? I don't know. But he takes it and he prays. And he says, Father, this is yours. Feed this crowd. And he begins to break it off. And begins to pass out the fish. And I don't know how it worked. But that day, 20,000 or more people were fed with the Lunchable. That day, thousands and thousands of people were fed with a little boy's lunch that his mom had made for him. And weren't just fed. They weren't just fed. It says in Matthew, and they all, right? All's everyone. Means everyone ate and were satisfied. And they took up 12 baskets full of broken pieces left over. I love that word satisfy because it's a real important word because it doesn't just mean everyone had a Lunchable. This is not satisfying. It may keep you alive, but it's not satisfying. And it said that they were satisfied. It means that they had eaten so much that they couldn't eat anymore. It's like you feel on Thanksgiving, or at least I hope you feel on Thanksgiving. If you don't, come to my house or my family's house, because I promise you, you will eat until you're satisfied. And we joke because we eat until we can't eat anymore, and then we sport eat, right? Just eat because it's there. See how much you can actually eat because it's going to be good, and it may not be there. And dude, that pie looks really good. And so what if you have half a pie on Thanksgiving? Nobody's going to judge you because you want to be satisfied. And those guys and those thousands of men and women are going, wait a minute, we didn't just eat today. That's the best bread and fish I've ever had. I could not take another bite, and there were still leftovers there. And there was more than enough. There was more than enough because a little boy placed his lunch in the hands of Jesus. Here's what I hope you'll understand today is that you have everything you need as long as you place what you have in the hands of Jesus. That's a really churchy thing to say, okay? But I want you to really think about what I'm saying to you, that you have everything you need as long as you place what you have in the hands of Jesus. You see, here's what we do. It's mine, and I'm going to hold it tight, and I'm going to pay my bills, and I'm going to have fun. I'm going to do what I have to do, and maybe if there's a little bit left over, I'll give, I'll be generous, I'll help someone, but it's mine. I don't want to let it go, because if I let go of control, if I say, God, it's not mine, it's yours, and I let go of control, then maybe I don't get what I want. Then maybe I won't have enough for me. Maybe God's going to ask me to do something that's hard and sacrifice and help and be a blessing or whatever it is that we want to do. And we get caught up in the thinking that if I hold it tight, then I'm going to have what I need. But the problem is the tighter we hold it. Listen, the tighter we hold it, the more that we control it, The more that we think we know what we should do with the money and the resources that we have, the more that we make it mine, the faster it slips through our hands, doesn't it? And it's never enough. But God says if you'll let go and you'll open up your hands and you'll say, God, it's all yours. Show me what to do. He says there's more than enough. He says you'll have more than enough. Look, you know who else ate that day? You know who else was satisfied that day? The little boy who gave up his lunch. Like, you realize he ate more than he brought. And well, it seems like this great sacrifice of this boy giving up his lunch so that others can eat that's not going to even feed anyone else. He's, what everyone's looking, oh man, what a good kid, you gave up everything. No, he didn't give up anything. He ate more than he brought, and it tasted better than what he brought. He ate till he was satisfied. Not what he brought, but was satisfied. Because he took what he had and he put it in the hands of Jesus. And on top of that, he got to meet Jesus. And on top of that, he got a front row seat to an amazing miracle of watching his lunch feed thousands. And on top of that, he saw the impact that his sacrifice made in the lives of another. He realized that his little lunch made an eternal difference because he was willing to place what he had in the hands of Jesus. There is always more than enough to do everything that God called you and created you to do if you'll just give it to Him. And so because there's more than enough, here's what I want to challenge you to do. Because you are children of a loving and extravagant God, and He proved it to you by dying on the cross for you. He proved it to you by loving you and providing for you and giving to you. Because He is so good to you, I want to challenge you. This is going to hang with me because it's going to seem a little crazy. To work like it depends on you. Here's the deal. Jesus did not need this boy's lunch, but this boy had a lunch to give him. And so often we expect God to do for us, and God says, you've got to start by doing something. In fact, He tells us to be wise with our money. He tells us to work hard. He tells us to try to succeed in this life and this world. He tells us to give our best to everything that we do. We need to work like it depends on us. Be wise with your spending. Look at it. Think about it. Listen, Emily and I learned this truth early in our marriage, and it was a painful way because I was a youth pastor at a church, and one of the girls in the youth group wanted to go on a mission trip. She was going to spend not just a couple of weeks in the summer. She was going to spend her entire summer in some jungle in Central America working with this small village, teaching the children all summer long. It's a huge sacrifice. She was a junior in high school, finishing up her junior year, and she sent out some letters saying, hey, guys, it's no big deal, but if you could help support us, it would really help me because I got to raise a lot of money. It's not cheap doing this, and so I really want to spend my summer doing it. Here's how much I've raised. Here's how much I've earned. If you can help, great. And Emily and I are sitting there looking at it, and we wanted to help, but we didn't have any money. Not because we didn't have any money, but because I had 300 stations that I never watched, that I was paying for. Because I had to buy a new car every couple of years, because, you got to have a new car, right? You got to. Because I lived in a place that was more than I could afford. And I spent all my money on stuff that didn't make a difference in my life or the lives of others. And we sat at our dining room table that day and we made a decision that we were never going to live in such a way that we did not have money to be generous. And there have been times where we've struggled, finding, bad things, unexpected things. We couldn't be as generous as we wanted to, had to pay medical bills, had to go through all that kind of stuff. But we made a decision we were never going to be in a place where we could not be generous if I had to have fewer stations on my television, if I had to live in a smaller house, if I had to wait one more year to get a new car, I was going to do it because I wanted to be a generous life because my God has been so generous to me. And that next summer comes around. And we made a lot of changes in our life. And that next summer comes around. And that same girl says, I want to do this again. It was so profound and impactful on my life. I want to do it again. And you know what? We were able to pay for half of her trip. Not because we're great people. Not because it was hard. We made few changes in our lives so that we could be generous. And I remember writing that check, and you used to have to do that kind of stuff, right? I remember writing that check and being able to put it in that envelope and know that we could just, with one swoop, where a year ago we didn't have $20 to give, we were able to help send her to make a difference in the lives of other people. That summer, she made a commitment to spend her life in missions. And every year when we give to Annie Armstrong, or Lottie Moon, our Christmas offering that goes to people who are serving across the world, we still support her 25 years later. Because today, some people were generous and said, we'll send you for a summer. And God changed her life. And she's still down in that same jungle, ministering to those same children. An orphanage with hundreds and hundreds of kids. And we get to be part of that. And I have a few fewer stations that I watch. Boy, I'm sacrificing my life, aren't I? We need to sometimes get a little perspective in our world about what we need and what's valuable and what matters, and maybe say, God, you know what? Yes, hear me. Pay your bills and pay them on time. Right? If you don't, you're not honoring God. And you know what? Enjoy this world and this life that we live in. We went out to dinner with some friends. We do it like at least once a week. We try to eat dinner with some friends and just laugh and enjoy and have fun and live life and just enjoy the world we live in. That's good. But make sure that you're not wasting the things that you have on stuff. It doesn't really matter. Because we need to work so that we have something to give. But we also need to give like it all belongs to God, because it does. I'm just borrowing it. And it may not be here tomorrow or the next week or next month or next year or whatever time it is, but I'm borrowing it, so I need to say, God, you know what? Since it's all yours, what do you want me to do with what you have given me? How do you want me to be generous? How do you want me to give? What do you want me to support? What do you want me to do with everything that you've given me? And it definitely includes money, but it includes our time. It includes our businesses. It includes our relationship. It includes every part of our life. God, it's yours. Let me invest it in something that's ultimately going to matter and make a difference in the lives of others. You know, right now I'm encouraging inside your bulletins a little handout. Listen, you're not turning these in. You're not making some kind of public commitment. I don't really even care at the end of the day. I'm asking you and your family and your children with you to sit down and ask, God, what do you want us to tithe? What do you want us to give to our church, to our family? Because everything you see here is because of your generosity. All of our ministries are because of your generosity. We are a blessed church and a blessed people because you're a generous people. And just say, God, what do you want me to give? Maybe, God, what do you want me to give towards missions? We're doing the Annie Armstrong, and I get them confused. Which one is it? Yeah, we'll go with that one, right? The Annie, which sends missionaries across our country to help people in times of need, to plant other churches, to tell people about Jesus. And maybe God's telling you and leading you to give to that. And if He is, do it. We're right now, we owe $300,000 on this building with $750,000 project, and we're so close that I can smell it. I would love to be able to take the money we spend every month and just pay this thing off and be done with it so we can do more and invest in more people. And maybe God's leading you to give something to help pay off this building. You can do it online. You can write it on your check. You can do whatever God's leading you. I'm not asking you to do more. I don't want to guilt you into something. I don't want to make you feel bad. If God says the number is 0, then give 0. Keep coming. Keep enjoying. Keep being blessed. I want you to do that. But I'm asking you to say, God, if all of it's yours, what do you want me to do? Nothing more and nothing less. Let's be generous. And by the way, if you don't know, if you don't think you can, if you feel like all your money goes to debt and you don't know how to organize your finances, on March 25th, we're starting Financial Peace University. So the information in the bulletin, it'll just help you get out of debt, help you know how to manage your money well, and you might be surprised what you're able to do. Check it out. Call the office, email the office. We'll tell you all about it. It's a great class. I don't get a kickback from them. Dave Ramsey, some of you have heard of him. He puts that class together, and it changed our lives, and we figured out how to get out of debt. It changed so many other people's lives and allows us to be more generous because we're using our money in a way that honors God so that we can give like it all belongs to Him, which leads to the last thing. And it's something that new because it hit me for the first time, and I never really noticed this. And simply what I want to challenge you to do is have compassion. You see, in Mark 6:34, it says this, telling that same story. It says, when Jesus went ashore, he saw a great crowd, and he had compassion on them. He had compassion on them. He loved those people. He could have said, guys, if y'all had been prepared, you wouldn't be hungry right now. If y'all thought ahead and planned ahead a little bit, you'd be okay right now. No, you know what he said? The people are hungry, and we're going to feed them. We're going to feed them because they're hungry and hunger matters. We're going to feed them because I want them to hear the truth. We're going to feed them because I want them to see the miracle that only I can do. We're going to feed them because I want them to know that I love them. You know why I want to encourage you to be generous people? Because I want you to be a part of showing the love of Jesus to this world. I want you to have a front row seat to seeing Jesus change people's lives. I want you to experience the freedom of letting go of control and living in fear. And what a blessing it is to be able to be generous people with the stuff that God has given us. We need eyes of compassion. Compassion says, I don't give because people deserve it. Compassion isn't, hey, I do what's convenient and easy. Compassion is what allowed Jesus to go to the cross. Compassion is what allows Jesus to love you and provide for you and care for you. So I'm asking you, will you be people of compassion? Because Jesus showed compassion to you. You may not always feel like it. You may not always see it or understand it or grasp it. But I'm telling you that there is more than enough for you to do and to be everything that God's called you to do and be, as long as you place it in the hands of Jesus. And so will you place what you have, even if it seems like a Lunchable, and it's not going to make a difference, will you place what you have in the hands of Jesus?